some refreshment for you. We've got dry white wine and water.
Oh, wonderful, excellent.
Which is very important. And if you want to top up, just a signal to...
nice comfy seat as well, isn't it?
Well, we try to. It's very relaxed here, it's going to be...
Are we all here? Are we waiting for somebody from Leicester? Or?
Yes. Someone's coming from Leicester, he's called up Grinds, but we'll have to start, I think.
Does he know what time it starts?
He does.
Are we early or...?
No, you're okay. You're perfectly on
don't
time.
Miss anything, do we? So, you know, if he's come all the way from Leicester, it's...
Well, he had a bit of a problem once before. I mean, I think we'll have to start really because...
Well, he'll have to watch the video.
Yeah.
Anything he's missed, he'll just watch somebody's replay.
Frazer Hines, a very warm welcome to Crawley.
Yes, thank you very much.
Nice to see you here.
I just wish it was a nice sunny day. It's...
We can't help it, I'm afraid. We'd like to go over your career. You're born near Leeds in a place called Horsforth, I believe.
That's right, Horsforth, yeah.
You had a English father and a Scottish mother.
That's right, yes. I'm a mongrel.
you could be called a child protege in some respects because you started off very, very early.
8 years old. In fact, I'm doing a thing at the moment. It's a Dick Francis. That's why I've got short hair. It's a Dick Francis documentary drama about most of his books, and I'm playing a character called A.C. Jones, who's a master of disguise. So I had my hair as long as Jamie up until last week, so I had it all cut short so I can wear all these sort of different wigs. And I'm working with Melvin Hayes.
Wendy Pepper's ex-husband.
Well, I wasn't going to say it for that reason. I know it's Sunday in the news of the world. But no, Melvin and I did a thing called The Silver Sword. When we
Years ago, classic Sunday afternoon serial.
Those were the good days when I think ITV was in its infancy, or maybe hadn't even started. And everybody had Sunday lunch, and then they all sat around a sort of little 12-inch screen, and they watched the Sunday afternoon serial. And Melvin and I were talking at breakfast yesterday, and he said, "Do you get people coming up to you?" And I said, "I know what you're going to say in the street. Say, I've followed you ever since the Silver Sword, and we have not worked together since."
How strange.
I was about 8, and he was about 10, so therefore it was about 10 years ago. So it's amazing that
your careers have come full circle.
So we said we've come full circle now. You know, maybe it was not the last job we ever did together, but he hasn't changed either. He looks really. You know, Melvin must be about 60 something, but he's so sprightly and leaping about. Now he'd make a very good Doctor Who.
No, he's very good in Ain't Half Hot, Man. I used to love that show.
Yes, but he's not like that at all in real life. He's not all loud.
No, but I mean, his performance in that was very good.
Yes, yes, because he's nothing not like that. He's got 8 children.
I know.
And he married Platters. There can't be anything wrong with him.
I wasn't implying there was. You went to the Corona stage school.
That's right.
What actually was that?
Corona was in Chiswick. I did a thing in Harrogate. I went to the Saturday morning school called Marjorie Newberry's school. And every Saturday morning we used to sing songs and tap dance, learn tap dancing. And she used to do a show every year called A Fantasy. And I was doing a Maurice Chevalier impression. Every little breeze seems to whisper Louise. And my mother, we were very poor at the time. My mother, at the time we still are, we had this horrible, my mother made me this white suit, almost out of sackcloth. And I can't stand itchy stuff next to my skin, itchy woolly trousers or something.
Yeah, I understand.
So when I had to do the little tap dance in the middle 8 of the song, my legs were stiff because I couldn't bend my leg, it was a scratch. So I did this sort of, and the newspaper said 7-year-old stop show. He even has the Chevalier stiff-legged walk. And a lady called Rona Knight in London, who owned the Corona school, saw this in the papers and rang my mother and said, you know, I went down to an audition and joined the Corona school. And when I was there with Richard O'Sullivan, from Man About the House.
Indeed, yes.
Francesca Annis, one of my best actresses, a chap called Jeremy Bullock, Dennis Waterman,
so lots of
Susan George. It was sort of like a good vintage year.
It was, wasn't it? All those people went on to do very, very good things indeed. You acted with Patrick at a thing called Smuggler's Cove, didn't you? Smuggler's Bay.
That's Smuggler's Cove, that's right. It was from a book. Oh God, what was the author? Anyways,
this is BBC, isn't it?
This was BBC. It was a very famous book called Moonfleet.
Oh,
by not Stevenson. Anybody know who Moonfleet was?
Oh, is it annoying?
And what happened? The BBC at the same time had...
Stuart Granger was in the movie, wasn't he?
That's right. Yep, that's it.
Yeah.
It was the BBC had a thing called Moonstrike on at the same time about the Lysander aeroplanes that used to drop the resistance workers into France, occupied France.
Indeed, yeah.
So they couldn't have two things called Moonstrike, Moonfleet. So they changed ours to Smuggler's Cove, or Smuggler's Bay.
But it was about Moonfleet.
It was Moonfleet, but it was called Smuggler's Bay. And Patrick played an old smuggler.
And you played the young boy in it.
And I played John Trenchard.
Who was the main character.
Yeah. And the day before, or 2 days before I started filming, I was at my girlfriend's house, and a window started to shut. And I put my hand up to stop it shut. I went straight through the plate glass window, and this hand was all severed. That was hanging off by a piece of skin. And the doctor came and looked at it, and my girlfriend, the doctor said, "Quick, get a brandy, get a brandy." She came dashing in, took one look at my fingers and drank the brandy herself. It worked for her. And so we went to the hospital, and they stitched it all, put that bit of skin back on top, stitched it all around, stitched that all around. That little finger's sort of still, the bone was sticking out there. And I had all these sort of big bandages on, and to cut a long story short about bleeding through the night and all, this can be read in my book later. I had to turn up to filming to Chris Barry, who went on to Doctor Who. And I said, Chris, and I thought, I'm going to guess, I'll be sacked. I said, I put my hand through plate glass and oh, God, what? I said, I don't know, and I had these great big white bandages. So he said, well, we can sort of film you with your hand by your side, but white bandages. So everybody started chipping in ideas of how can we cover. The painter on the set said, well, I can paint them. and the makeup girl said, no, because the lead in the paint will suit to the bandages, the gangrene, and he'll lose his fingers. The prop chap came up with an idea of because it was 3 fingers, he had something in his wallet that comes in 3s. For the weekend, as you know, and he said, let's put those on. I said, and so Chris Barry said, well, let's try it. So they rolled these, and I said, I can't cut more. 3 things on. And you can imagine all the ribald blue jokes that went about the place. So the wardrobe lady got a pair of industrial gloves and cut the fingers off, and we glued those on, slipped them over the top and sellotaped them. So
that's a clever idea.
Yeah. So John Trenchard suddenly became left-handed, and he held the lantern up with his left hand, and everything he did, he held his right hand down until these fingers slowly got better. But for about the first 2 weeks of filming, they made it so I damaged my hand, so I could have a big raggedy bandage around my hand. And Elzevir Block, my mentor, and I were sort of escaping from Carisbrooke Castle, and we were crawling along, and John Trenchard had this bad hand.
You appeared with Peter Sellers in quite an early film, I think. Was it John and Julie in the early...
Was Peter Sellers in that?
He was.
I never did. It was my first ever film. It was called John and Julie. And I remember coming back from an audition.
Wilfred Hyde-White was in it as well, I think.
And I said, I'm in a film, and this girl in the class...
Perhaps your scenes weren't together, maybe. Perhaps.
I played the 484th assistant. Outside Buckingham Palace, there's about this little boy and girl that went down to see the Queen for the coronation. I wasn't John or Julie. I was this. And when you saw the film, it was a crowd scene.
I see.
But of course, I'm in a film. Of course, we all went to see it, family and friends, and oh yeah, there you are. That you couldn't see a thing, But the first thing that you ever saw me in singly was an advert for Jaffa oranges on Pearl and Dean. Those sort of
yes.
Jaffa oranges, those are the things. A little boy was eating this Jaffa orange, and that was me.
They still had the same music for Pearl and Dean.
Yeah, they do.
One person you might remember appearing with was Charlie Chaplin.
Oh yeah, Charlie Chaplin.
Who directed you in a film he wrote, King of New York.
Can I just finish? The John and Julie thing, there was a wonderful musical, John and Julie, and I did a radio show last year, and he said, I've got a surprise for you, because he'd read the book and everything.
The music to the...
And he played, and I got a lump in my throat, and a tear came out, and it was awful, because I suddenly went back to all those years ago, my first ever job. I thought all the things that had happened in one's life, since that little boy with a school cap coming through, and I really started to cry. I was awful, and thank goodness it was on radio. I was filling up.
It was a nice thing for the producer to do, I think, actually. He obviously knew your work very well indeed.
But Charlie Chaplin, he was a lovely man. I auditioned for the casting director, and I got this part. It was a film called King of New York. It was black and white, but it wasn't silent movie.
This is late 57.
Yeah, he did some talking, you know, he wasn't wasn't one of those.
It's been amazing.
He was a lovely man. He wrote it, he directed it, he starred in it. It's about this sort of exiled king that goes to New York. And part of the thing is, he goes to this school for special children who, if you're an artist, you've got paints and easels and models. If you're a cook, you've got all the finest cooking implements. If you're a sculptor, you've got all the clay and stuff. And I was this little boy who could sing grand opera, making these cakes. And I arrived on the set and he said, yes, now what's your name, Frazer? Right, now again, Frazer. Do you know When Stars Are Brightly Shining from Tosca? I was 9 years old. I said, no, I don't. He said, well, just sort of sing some opera stuff. He said, I'll tell you what you want to do. You're rolling these cakes out like that, and then you're doing that to make, and then you make a hole to put the cherries on, but you're picking your nose at the same time and putting the holes for the cherries. And at the end of the scene, you know, you offer one to me, and of course I go, no, thank you very much. So he showed me how to do this thing. He went over to the oven, and he was singing this opera. He went to put the cakes in, touched the oven door, and he went, oh shit. Put the thing, close the door. He said, now that's what I want you to do. So I went, la 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 dee dee. Went over there, went, oh shit. And he just fell about laughing. And I went, well, what have I done, Mr. Chaplin? He said, no, he said, it's wonderful, very funny, but I touched the door and it was hot because an arc lamp had been shining on the handle, you know. But I don't actually want you to go, oh shit. But if you got on with him, or if he thought you worked hard, but there was another boy who missed 3 cues for a scene, and Chaplin just said to his first assistant, I don't think we'll be requiring that young gentleman anymore in the film. Didn't shout, just got rid of him. So I went home.
Took a shine to you, though.
Yeah, he took it, because I went home and I said to my mother, you know, he asked me, she said, well, did you say you knew it? I said, of course I don't know it. And she got her LP out, she was an operatic singer, you know, in amateur dramatics. She put the LP on, and I sat all night learning this song, learning something. So the next day I went, so Mr. Chaplin, and he said, yes. I said, la da 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 la 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 da dum da 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 da. I mean, it's still ingrained in my memory now. My mum,
he must have been impressed by that.
Get it right. And he was so impressed. He said, well, that's wonderful. You've learned. He said, but the scene, that little bit of opera you were singing anyway yesterday, I was just going da da la 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 la. He said, that was fine, and we've done that scene. It's wonderful. But he was very impressed. And I suddenly, then this 9-year-old kid, I said, Mr. Chaplin, I've got an idea that might be something very funny. Instead of clipping me around the ear and saying, listen, I am Charlie Chaplin, you know, king comedian. I've written this, I'm directing the film. You know, you 9-year-old telling me what's funny. He said, what? I said, he had his fur hat. I said, if I got your fur hat, I'd put some cream in it or some cherries and you sat in it, wouldn't that be funny? And he went, I told him what to do. Yes, we'll get the hat, put some cream in it, some cherries. And I go to say it, and somebody else did. He said, then we have the comedy. And he actually listened to me. He was that great a man that he could actually think...
Take from somebody else and take their...
Because, you know, he wasn't so grand like a lot of people are nowadays that, you know, they've stopped listening. Well, because there's that saying, isn't it, out of the mouths of babes and sucklings comes great knowledge or something.
Yes, that's very true.
Oh, that was a late line. Have you got a note? Well, what have you missed? I came in and sat straight down on a board like this, and we started talking here, and I've talked about...
Charlie Chaplin, we've been talking about quite recently.
You have to watch one of these videos. You'll catch up then.
Were you aware as a 9-year-old child who, I mean, you're obviously aware of who Charlie Chaplin was, but were you aware of his history of film at that age?
Oh yes, I mean, because, you know, we'd been brought up on those sort of films, you know.
Saturday morning pictures.
Saturday morning pictures, yeah. and you know, Chester Conklin and the Keystone Cops and Laurel and Hardy. You know, that's what you were brought up.
There aren't too many people who say they've worked with Charlie Chaplin, are there?
It's a great showstopper.
Great CV thing as well.
If I'm at a dinner table and somebody starts going, oh well, I've worked with Larry. Larry said to me, and I said, you know, I've been at the National. I said, well, as Charlie Chaplin once said to me, and people go,
yeah,
stop.
I can imagine that. It's nice age to put out of the hat, isn't it?
As Chaplin once said to me, I think it's very nice.
You also worked on a TV series. My mother used to
with
watch
Nick
a
Horton.
lot.
Oh, you haven't got that play? Oh, sorry.
Emergency Ward 10.
Oh God, yes.
This was a soap opera in the early 60s, late 50s, early 60s, about a hospital.
I could have said that.
Tell us
He's just showing because he's learned his script.
Tell us something about this.
No, you knew.
Well, it was shown network.
Yeah, it was live. Actually, it was live in those days. Emergency Ward 10, and Richard Thorpe was in it, who now plays Alan Turner in Amadeo. He was a heartthrob in those days.
What was your character?
Heart's a pump, isn't it? Pump throb doesn't sound so good, does it?
If you drank it, probably sounds pretty good actually. But
so like anyone who had a pump wouldn't sound the same, would it? Anyway, he was a heartthrob. He was and so it was live in those days. And I was playing this guy called Tim Birch, who was a medical student, but he had fulminating ulcerative colitis. And once you've learnt it again, you never forget how to say it. And I was having an operating scene, and John Carlyle and Charles Tingwell were operating on me, so I had my eyes closed, and mask on there and the gown, and they were massaging my tongue, sutures, scalpel. The next thing I'd fallen asleep. I was gone.
on live TV.
On live TV, because I'm very relaxed. On stage, I can fall asleep on stage.
You fell asleep on live television.
Yeah. I was fast. The next thing, my dresser, Fraser, what? Fraser, what? The next scene, where am I? The next, quick, into your pyjamas, because you're now in men's surgical ward. Oh God, oh yeah. And he's putting his pyjamas on, and he threw him into the bed, and as he cleared shot, I got the cue, and the guy playing my father came and I said, hello, father. He went, no, son, how's the operation going? I said, oh, father, yeah, it was lovely. Got to the end and finished the scene, finished the show, rather, and they said, right, that's it, break, cut. And Cecil Petty was directing. He came down and he said, do you know, I thought you were a good actor, but that was brilliant. You really, you hadn't done that in rehearsal, but it was brilliant the way you played this young boy who just had an operation and you're still groggy from the operation. It was really wonderful. Great acting, he said, great acting. Never told him. And then we went on to, it stopped being live and it went on to being recorded. And I had to share this bed with a little Filipino girl because well, let me explain. It was the same ward was used for men's surgical and women's medical.
I see, yeah.
So we shoot a scene, and then we'd all jump out. The prop men would go and change all the Kiora bottles round and swap the flowers round, and the girls would jump into the bed, and suddenly it was women's medical. They'd shoot a scene. So, and it was a very quick turnaround. So I stayed in my bed, and this little Filipino girl came jumped to the bed. And I went, hi.
Can you tell us how you came to be offered the role, which you're probably the reason you're here for today, of Jamie in Doctor Who?
No. It's a long time ago, I can't remember it. At conventions, a lot of people, I think Nick Courtney says, how do you remember all that? And I think if you enjoy something, in your past, I've got this great sort of total recall that it was very easy when I was writing the book. I think, no, what can I talk about today? And suddenly, computer comes out like.
Is that a trained memory, do you think?
I think probably it
like
is.
Being an actor, you have to learn your lines anyway. And that...
I think because I've been acting since 8 years old. Again, Mel Miller and I were talking yesterday that if the dogs bark at home at 7 o'clock, I wake up and I can't go back to sleep because I'm awake then. And I'm sure it's indoctrinated in the old days when you were a young kid, getting up at 7 o'clock to go to a film studio, you couldn't roll over and go back to sleep. Yeah, you're right, you've got to be up now, you've got to be the set on in an hour's time. So I once I'm awake, I can't sort of roll over and sort of go to sleep.
Can you train your memory then? Can you train it to, do you think, to a certain degree?
I think so. I mean, you can learn certain things. I mean, it's a funny thing, learning. When I was on Emmerdale, I could learn 25 pages for tomorrow because I knew I had to do it tomorrow. But if you're doing a stage play, you can't learn 25 pages. You think, well, I don't have to do it. We don't open for another 2 weeks.
You need to have that pressure, that incentive, that whatever you want
That's
to call
right.
it.
Yeah, you've got to know
The
it by
adrenaline
tomorrow.
needs to be pumping through the veins to be able for you to do it.
But going back to your original question, I do sort of go. The Doctor Who.
You're originally just going to be in the Highlanders, weren't you?
Well, I worked years before for Sean Sutton, who it was like a repertory company. We did Hunting Tower by John Buchan
These
on a
classic serials.
Sunday afternoon serials.
Yes.
Then we did The Silver Sword, because he gave me the part of Jan. And then we did Run to Earth, The Long Way Home, Cinderella with the late June Thorburn, and all these sort of Sunday afternoon serials. And he had a group of actors that he sort of, like rep actors.
So he knew from that.
And then he became head of children's comedy. And Innes Lloyd was looking for, Jamie character. And Sean Sutton, I think, said to Innes, said, well, how about Fred? He can do Scots, he can do Yorkshire, he's done Scots for me, Yorkshire for me, try him. And I didn't audition. I just my agent rang me up and said they want you to do Doctor Who, the Highlanders, 6 episodes. How do you fancy it? I said, you'd love to be in Doctor Who, a great show like that. But what I didn't know is they'd said to my agent that and if the character takes off, we might sort of take him back into the TARDIS.
So there was this possibility.
But she didn't tell me. I never knew this, and she never told my agent in case I thought, I've got to be really good, and then you go to pieces. But we filmed the Highlanders. We even filmed the scene where I said goodbye to the Doctor, and the TARDIS disappeared, and I went off with my lad and Hannah Gordon, who went on to great things. And I think we did about 2 episodes, and the mail started to come in, and Jamie started to be really... And they said to me, at rehearsals, well, do you fancy doing, coming in the TARDIS for 6 months or a year? And I said, oh, I'd love to. So we had to go back to French and Ponds and film the scene again where I went back in the TARDIS. I said goodbye to my lad and Hannah Gordon.
It occurs to me that the character of Jamie is almost a perfect companion in many ways, because he was a survivor of the Battle of Culloden. He was a Highlander from another century. Everything was new to him.
Oh yeah,
so he could ask the Doctor any kind of question
without
at all.
Being dumb.
A perfect character. I think of Jamie. I think of like in the Abominable Snowman. So that big hairy beastie Doctor, or in the Faceless Ones, that big flying beastie.
That's right. Yes, right. Yes.
And there's a lovely scene in the Faceless Ones where you ask Patrick Troughton what a passport is, and he says to you, "Oh, I wouldn't mind about that, Jamie. It's some kind of official mumbo jumbo."
Jumbo. That's right. Yeah.
It's lovely stuff.
And I call it a passport.
Yes, indeed.
Because I just heard the word passport, and then I said, "What's a passport?"
It's lovely stuff, but your character could do that time and time again, and you never got tired of that. And I don't think, I think in many ways you were the perfect companion with that.
Even in the 2 Doctors, and when John Nathan Turner, because we did the 5 Doctors. Well, I did a tour of a play.
It's a little sort of cameo, really, wasn't it? That?
Well, I was supposed to be with the Doctor and the Brigadier all the way through the 5 Doctors. But Yorkshire TV wouldn't release me because I'd just done a stage play called
Happy Birthday. I always thought it was just like a,
No, what happened is I was supposed to, all the way through it.
How shame.
And Yorkshire TV, no, we want him back now. I just either done pantomime or a tour. He's ours now. We've let him off for 6 weeks. So JNT said, oh, well, I'd like to look, Frazer, if you get a day off, just give us a call. Because you know what filming schedules are like. When you get your schedule, if you've got a day or 2 days off, give us a call and we'll fit you in somewhere. And we were talking earlier about being grand and everything. I got a day off, and I rang him up. He said, "Well, yeah, we'll fit you in. You can have a couple of lines." Now, if I'd thought, "Oh no, I'm not going to come down to London on a day off to do 2 lines. You can stuff it," sort of thing. I'd never done the 2 Doctors, but I went down, did those. We went to rehearsals.
You knew that Patrick and Wendy would actually be there as well.
Patrick and Wendy were there. We just in this big rehearsal room. We just rolled on the floor, the 3 of us, laughing and joking.
A big scrum or something.
There was a big scrum, the 3 of us. John Pertwee, Peter Davidson looked at us and said, well, we never had that fun without companions. When he was pregnant,
yes.
It had nothing to do with us. We didn't get that close, come on, we just rolled on the floor. And you can see this, all the other doctors. And JNT, we did the show, and JNT came up afterwards, as I was about to sort of go, he said, is lunch ready?
I was trying to find a space for one more.
Oh, yes, room for one last little... Hey, please. I didn't say there's a little pub over there. And JNT said, just like, 16 years had gone since we worked together, Patrick and I, in the Doctor. He said, it looks like we just put you in a prop cupboard, brought you out 16 years later, dusted you all up, wound the 3 of you up and put you onto the set. Nothing has changed.
The chemistry was very special, I think. And it's strange because when it was you and Patrick and Mike and Hanneke, and also with Deborah and Wendy when they appeared, there was a very good team, and you worked well together, I think.
Hello, Frazer.
How you doing?
Okay,
Now, what time do you call this?
I do apologise.
Well, you've heard a couple of the stories anyway.
My car caught fire on the motorway.
Yeah. Your car's always catching fire. You're always having car trouble.
Yeah.
Because last time we met you were going to sell your car.
That's right. Yeah.
So did you sell it and buy one?
Yeah, but this one just blown up the gap.
You ruin cars, don't you?
I do, yeah. Just.
There's a little seat over there if you want to sort of make yourself comfortable.
May I?
Yes, because Your knees will give out after all.
There are other seats around. I'm sure we can film one for
I
you.
don't wish to get in the way of the camera.
I'm sure you just be careful.
Is there a little space there?
I must apologise, Edward. I watched the Grand Prix last night from Australia from 2 o'clock to 5:15. So I'm a bit blurry-eyed and a bit shut.
That's all right.
It's because I was cheering on Michael Schumacher, although he ended up about 7th away.
Who won it anyway?
Eddie Irvine, the Irishman. First
Oh, good.
Grand Prix he's ever won in his life. So.
Oh, Eric, we
Sorry about that.
No. So I went to the 2 doctors, and J&T had taken over then, and we did a read-through at Bush House, and I put a gag in, and Colin Baker said, just a minute, I'm the doctor, I do the gags. And Patrick said, well, Frazer used to, I do the, all right. At the end of the 4th day, I did another gag, and Colin said, Frazer and I do the gags. At the end of the first week's filming in Seville, Colin said, excuse me, Frazer does the gags. But the 2, I was putting stuff in, and J&T said, no, you can't say that, because at the beginning of the 2 doctors, when we're looking at this, it starts in black and white and goes to colour.
Indeed.
And there's a space station.
Clever idea to do it, actually. I think.
And I said, look at the size of that thing, Doctor. And J&T said, no, that's not in the script. And Patrick said, listen, at the beginning of every story, Jamie always said, look at the size of that thing, Doctor. Because we kept that little bit of continuity. Because it stemmed, and this is not a rude story by any, when we were doing a Dalek story and we saw the Emperor Dalek, which was it was
Evil of the Daleks.
Evil of the Dalek. It was the whole...
massive set, wasn't it?
It was a massive set, and the bottom half of the Dalek was almost went up to the ceiling, and you couldn't even sort of see the top of it. And the Dalek has all these spherical things, and my line was, look at the balls on that Dalek. Well, we couldn't say it.
Was it?
No, we just laughed and joked, and the director's tearing his hair out, and in the end we said, what is that? Look at the big ball. No, we can't say that. So Patrick said, Jamie, Frazer, just say, look at the size of that thing, Doctor. That's it. So that was all right. We could say, look at the size of that thing, Doctor. Fine. So every story after that, Jamie always had to say, and that's what Patrick said. Jamie always says, look at the size of that thing.
I always kind of wait for that to happen in the story, and then I can relax. It's strange.
But it was great fun filming in Seville. I mean, it was supposed to be in New Orleans.
I love that story. I think it works very well. I mean, the locations must have been nice, because you've been working in sort of rubbish dumps and
that's right, yes.
Brighton, whatever. To go to Seville, lovely sunshine.
It was supposed to originally going to be New Orleans, and then the Americans pulled the money out, and that would have been great, because I'd never been to New Orleans.
How interesting. I never knew that either. Tell me 2 things I didn't know today.
Right. And I also love you, that's true. But no, so again, just before the Jamie questioning things, as you said earlier, and being able to like electric lights he'd never seen. There's again a lovely scene where Colin Baker and the 2 doctors has seen Patrick in that tube going
Indeed.
and Colin says a line similar to, I see, so I am me and he is me, therefore we are the same. And on rehearsal, so he said, yes, I am me and he is me, so we are the same. And I said, well, who will I be? We haven't felt about it, and J&T said, oh, go on, I'll let you keep that in.
It's perfect, but it's
because
perfect.
It's perfect
Yes,
for Jamie.
I agree.
It's a Jamie. Therefore, Jamie, if I am he and he is me, and we are thee. And Jamie says, oh, well, who will I be?
Yeah.
And
But
perfect Jamie line.
That's what I liked about that character, because when he came back even briefly in the 5 Doctors, and particularly in the 2 Doctors, he was as Jamie would have been. He wasn't changed at all. So often they bring characters back, they do change them somewhat.
And also, I mean, in the script when Jamie's listening at the door and he hears all the conversation between, I think, Jacini and Shockeye, and reports to the doctor, said, oh, she's an androgram. Well, in the script, I was supposed to say, she's an androgram. And I said, well, that's Jamie being very clever, thinking, oh, I know the word androgram. So I said, I should actually say, and she said he was an angry man or something. And then the doctor says, androgram, aye, that's the one. So, but that's the sort of thing. And again, those are the sort of things that J&T let me do, because those are Jamie-isms, He wouldn't go, oh, he said it was an androgram, because I don't know the word androgram.
And that kind of ad-libbing, it adds to the script as well.
Yeah, it
because
does.
It's spontaneous, and it makes it special, I think, anyway. Certainly in the stories you've appeared in.
And that's a great thing I loved. I'd love to go back and do more Doctor Who, because, you know, things like that. I love changing and making, well, of course, like Jamieism, you know, well, you know, great fun.
You have it on record that you're not very keen on the Crotons.
No, that was the worst story.
Many times you've said that.
The croutons.
Why do you hate that story so much?
Well, we were short of a story, and they dropped one, and it was one of those sort of stories. And oh, crikey, we're short. We've got, and this sort of horrible 4-episode thing came along, and they had these big square boxes, you know, men in a square box.
So they had South African accents.
And they yes, the gong.
Why did they have South African accents?
Well, I think the writers.
This is a warning. Like
This
that.
is the warning. Let's get the gongs.
Jamie Gond.
Jamie gone.
Yeah.
All right, manure. Get out the Rottweilers. The babes. Speak Afrikaans, manure. Okay.
I quite like that story. I mean,
I just think maybe the writer was anti-apartheid, against it all, and thought, right, I'll put my little sort of. But yeah, because the original story we were going to do was a prison in space, run, and it was a comedy one, run by women, and we were sort of landed on this men's prison, and women had, you know, taken over the world. And they were wearing sort of black leather hot pants, and they were, you know, sort of Nazi union, but shiny leather. And
shame it wasn't made in it, isn't it?
very good. Well, years later, and here's the two Ronnies picked it up and did a thing called The Worm That Turned. And
Oh,
remember
yes,
Charlie? Dinah-
Charlie and Piggy Malone.
Yes, and Diana Dawes played the, you know, the big was and Vicky Michelle was in, and they had all the
Yeah, I remember it.
yeah.
Yes, I do.
And that was the story. And somebody sent me the script, and they told me the story. This was going to be the writer who sent me, and we were going to do this. And Peter Bryant said, no, it's not very funny, and I think it's cheap humour, and we're not going to do it. And they put the croutons on instead. And we'd love to do it because Jamie then, I mean, in the script it was very, very funny. It was great for Patrick, and there was a scene where they knocked one of the guards out, and she had to dress as a woman, and there's, well, go on, you're used to wearing a skirt. It's a kilt, Dottie. Well, you're showing your legs out. You wear the... And Jamie had to dress as this woman, and you know, but there's that little scene that, you know, you're used to wearing a skirt. It's a skirt. Well, anyway,
Yeah,
show your legs.
imagine.
I'm not showing my legs. Go on, you're used to showing your legs. So Jamie had to wear this sort of thing.
What's your favourite story from that era? Those 60s stories, would you say?
I mean, it sounds awful. I liked them all, apart from the croutons. I suppose the War Games was fun. Even though it was our last story, the War Games was fun because it was 10 episodes, so we got paid 10 times. I got to horse ride, although it was in a kilt, and it's awful horse riding in a kilt. I had to do.
I can imagine you chap your legs.
Oh, awful, rubbing. And all my hairs were rubbed off my legs, and it was awful because on the way home in the studio bus, I was lying on the back seat, and the makeup girl was rubbing this sort of oil into my legs to bring some feeling back. It was hell. It was hell, I tell you. I rented that kilt out for 3 weeks after. I never went horse riding.
Patrick Troughton, I've only ever met him once in the early 80s, but
Lovely man, very eccentric but lovely. You know.
he struck me as quite a shy man, actually.
Very shy, very private. When we were doing Doctor Who, there was a chat show called Dine with Simon D,
Oh,
and they
I
used to
remember
do the studio. And
Yes. The
and
E-Type Jaguar.
that's the one.
Yeah.
And they were always asking Patrick and I to go on. He said, no. Once I take my clothes out, I'm Patrick Troughton. Well, come on as the Doctor. No, the Doctor, because the Doctor wouldn't be on D-Time. The Doctor's just been trapped. You know, he's going to be killed. So he never did it. But towards the end, he then started to do conventions and dressing. It was John Pertwee that got him to come to a convention.
Interesting.
And said, wear your costume, come as your Doctor. Because John Pertwee always, used to wear his costume. So Patrick would start to go to convention and enjoy them and love them.
I think really he was happiest at being a character actor, really. If he was like third or fourth bill
Oh, that's right, never
in a
wanted to
TV series or a film, he was at happiest. He didn't like being the leading man, really, did he? And if you look at something like Six Wives of Henry VIII, for example, who's playing the Duke of Norfolk, is about third or fourth in the cast. That's a great
Oh,
performance.
well, like a Denham Elliott.
And he
Denham Elliott
completely
never
steals every scene he's in.
was never top of the bill, Denham Elliott. It was always third and fourth down. As you say, every time Denham Elliott was in a film, you
That's
watched
why
Denham
I think
Elliott.
Patrick Troughton came back so many times. He came back in the 3 Doctors, the 5 Doctors, 2 Doctors, because he was like third or fourth down the cast. He was happier when the spotlight was actually off.
But I think his Doctor was believable. If he put his hand in his pocket and brought out this sort of rope ladder, you can actually believe that yes, he would have a rope ladder in his pocket. and a machine gun on the other. Oh, this is, oh yeah, here it is. These sort of magic pockets. But he was a very shy man as well. We went to Chicago to do a convention, and I saw this lovely baseball cap, it's a boring old fart. I said, oh, I'll get this for Patrick. I said, Patrick, what are your baseball? Oh, I love hats. I love hats. I said, there you are. And he looked at me, I'm not really, am I? And I said, no, it's just a gag. He said, I can't wear this. And he suddenly,
Yes.
no, I can't wear this.
He had a soft side to him as well. It's occurred to me actually, I hadn't thought of this before, but his character was described by English Lord as almost Chaplin-esque in some ways. And you actually worked with Chaplin
He was very Chaplin-esque, how it was written.
in the original draft. Of Jamie never would have left the Doctor of his own violation. He's having too much of a good time.
Oh, Fraser was having a good time.
As well, but the character, I mean, Jamie never would have left the Doctor without being forced to leave. And I think it's so fitting that your character is made to leave by the Time Lords. Obviously, I think the fact that you, Wendy and Patrick decided to leave together is nice anyway, because it ties it all up. It's the end of the end of the black and white era. And they go on to different things, admittedly. But
well, my agent said, you've done a 3-year television now, you must go and do films, darling, you must do films, you must leave all this television stuff. And Patrick's lady at the time was saying, you're much better than this, you're better at it than children's serials, you ought to leave. And we had, if you go home at night and somebody's giving you earache, in the end, you listen to them. But I think if my agent hadn't have got me to leave, and Patrick, I think we'd still, John Pertwee wouldn't have got looking, we'd have stayed.
he said this thing a few years before he died. He was asked in an interview, not just on his acting career, but looking back on his entire life, his happiest times, without hesitation, said all the times that he was with you.
I read that,
which is an amazing, well, not amazing, because obviously but it's quite a humbling thing to hear.
Because he would never say to you openly, oh, come on, we have great fun, I love you, we're great friends. But when I read that, and it said something,
Must have been very moving.
The happiest time of my life is working with Fraser, and he'd never say that to you face to face, but all the people he's worked with, Gregory Peck, and he's worked with a lot of films, great movie stars, and it was lovely to see that as well. But I think that was my happiest times. I mean, as I say, if we hadn't had this earache, we'd probably still stay there, and we'd still be there now.
that sense of fun comes across in the stories very much. I mean, I know to acting you can portray a character, but that kind of sense of fun has to be there anyway, I think, to come across on the screen. It does very, very well indeed.
And we'd put stuff in, again, where the script would get something right. Patrick and I said, no, let's, instead of going down the right tunnel, let's go down the wrong one. Because we wanted this audience participation. Kids saying, no, go to the left. Oh, no, right, they should have got, And that's what we wanted, and they allowed us in the end to do this and slightly change the script. And walking down the road, we started followed by this car. It was another Dalekster with Kevin Stoney and this Jaguar car. We were walking down the road.
You're thinking of Invasion, the Cyberman story, aren't you?
Sorry, Invasion, yes.
Great actor, Kevin Stoney.
Yeah, lovely man, and he's a nice man. But we had this scene, we were walking, and this Jaguar, and the director said, right, you look over your shoulder, and you start to run, because you see this Jaguar. And we said, no, wouldn't it be funny if we were walking in this car, and we would start walking a bit quicker, and then we start walking, and in the end, then you do that sort of Chaplin-esque thing.
It works.
And it works, because we were just walking, well, Doctor, and we walked a bit quicker.
I love that story.
And in the end, we did this comedy run where you throw your chest out and your back, and you like the Wile E. Coyote.
When I say run.
Yes. Jamie, when I say run. Run!
Tremendous.
And he always had to shout it, you never said run, he always, when I say run.
You do a fair imitation of Patrick there.
Well, you can't use it, rubs off, doesn't it? I've been asked a few times, would you ever play the Doctor? I said, I'd play the Doctor, but I think it'd be lovely if Jamie and my Doctor sort of reincarnated, immersed. So it was like Patrick with a Jamie's accent, so we still have the quirkiness, and that's how I'd play it.
Indeed. It's very sad that a lot of the episodes that were shot in the 60s were destroyed in the mid to late 70s. One of them was discovered. You were on the National Lottery programme.
That's right. What about that chap? Did you see the lottery show on the other Wednesday? That guy with the eyeliner, and I thought it was
his eyebrows were going up and down.
Yes. And I said to Carol, smiling, I said, the trouble is, people like that.
He's a loony.
He gets Doctor Who a bad name. It was a yellow crushed velvet hat. I thought it was one of those hard hats, you know, like village people or something. It was yellow crushed velvet hat.
But I mean, the fact they found an episode of The Crusade shows that there's still episodes out.
Yeah.
Perhaps some of them might even star you, maybe.
It's be nice if they found the Highlanders.
They would, wouldn't they?
You see Jamie's different accent.
Because your character was slightly different in that, wasn't it?
Jamie, well, because as I said, he was the Highlanders, and the Highland accent is very different to the what we call your normal Scottish. The Highland accent is very like that, and now they'll be off to the Battle of Culloden or Culloden, and I'm the famous Bag Jeannie McCrimmon, and we were having a little drink, a bit like Barbara Mullen, you know, in Dr. Finlay.
Dr. Finlay!
Oh yes, Dr. Finlay. With a drop of whiskey and a game of whist. That's still a Highland accent. And when they asked me to stay on, I thought, they'll write me out after 3 weeks, because people would be so bored with, oh doctor, look at the size of that monster there. What on earth are they going to do?
You have a point.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I watered it into what everybody would know as, you know, a television Scottish accent.
Oh, that's interesting. When you left Doctor Who, you...
Oh, in the Highlanders, we were in the prison ship, and they had this rat, this stuffed rat, that, you know, we were up to our knees in the water, and
It's floating.
Yeah, it was floating. We kept pushing this rat. He had a camera, and they'd oh, the rat's here, and I got the wardrobe department to make a little striped bathing costume. And the props made some little dark glasses. And on the final rehearsal, I put the rat upside down, and I said, oh, there's a rat, and I pushed it, and there was this rat going back, and I did little dark glass. So we started gags, you know, in those days, the gags were going fast.
From day one.
From day one, yeah.
Isn't there a story,
No.
in The Two Doctors, wasn't Colin Baker trying to find out your age or something? There was
Oh,
a big
yes.
running gag.
Colin Baker had this thing about my, you know, I always think in show business, ages and wages should never be discussed. Because it stemmed from when I was a little boy actor, I'd go for an audition and the director said, how old are you? I'd say, I'm 10, sir. Oh, this boy's 9 in the film. He's 9. You're too old. If I was 9 last year, no, you're far too old. So you're always told, don't say your age unless they beat it out of you. Because, and I lost a job years later. Lenny Mayne, who was on Doctor Who died. He said, oh, I'm going to cast you as a young lieutenant, this army thing I was doing. I said, oh, why didn't you? He said, well, the lieutenant's 22 years old. And somebody said, oh no, Frazer's 30. I said, well, actually, yeah, I said, you could have played the part, but I just thought, oh no, you're too old for it. Because he knew the age. Now, he would have cast me, but he knew
Bizarre,
the age.
isn't it? Absolutely bizarre.
What was the question? I've forgotten that.
There was this running gag.
Oh, that's right, yes, Colin Baker,
trying to
yeah.
find out. And he wrote
So
Nicky
Colin
Lee.
Baker
Yeah.
he said, right, you know, how old? I'm not telling you. Oh, come on. I said, I'm not telling you. So we flew to Seville, and we're in the queue, passport control, and the Spaniard behind the glass, getting the passports, was opening the passport. And Colin elbowed to the front of the queue. He gave his passport and went, stamped it, and Colin ran round and looked over the Spaniard's shoulder like that. So Nicola came down, then I came down, and Colin went, I'm going to look down and see how old you are, when you were born. And the Spaniard got he went, give it back, and Colin, what'd you do? He didn't open it. He just looked at my back and gave it straight back.
He must have thought you bribed him or something.
He said, well, how much you give? How much you give? And there was money in that passport. I said, no. I don't know why, to this day, the Spaniards went and gave it straight back to me. So we got to the hotel, and he said, Nicola, he said, Frazer, we ought to have a safe to put our passports and things like that. I said, yeah. She said, it's 200 pesetas a week. I said, yeah. Why don't we share one? I said, yeah, all right. So I said, give me your passport. She said, well, give me your passport. I said, no, give me your passport. I'll put the money in. So I put all the stuff in. We were like sunbathing one day, and Nicola said, Frazer, have you got the key to the safe? I said, why? She said, I want to get some money out. I said, how much do you want? She said, 3 pesetas. I said, yeah, I'll lend you. No, I want some money. I said, I'll lend you the money. She said, no, because Colin wants to. I said, yeah, Colin wants to look at my passport.
Didn't he actually go there? Wasn't he waiting there at the actual safe?
Yeah, and then so I said, well, give me, I'll go with you. So he went, and there was Colin waiting.
Like a cat ready to pounce.
Then Colin, we were doing a scene in Seville, it was hot, and it was Patrick and John Stratton were playing the 2 Androgons, and they had this long scene, and I said, what are we going to eat today? Oh, we're going to eat this and that. And then Colin, myself and Nicola had to come running down past the camera. We were chasing them. We did the first take, so sorry, Peter Moffat said, go back again, Patrick died. All right, but it's a whole long scene, and we came running down after, we're up there, the other. Cut, I'm sorry, John Stratton fluffed all his life. We did 5 takes.
Very hot.
And it was very hot, and we had a long dialogue, and the sun was wrong. And on the 6th take, we came running down, cut, gotta go again. And Colin said, why? Why the hell do we have to go again? Because, Colin, you've got your sunglasses on.
Good one, good one. You're probably most... Sorry.
I know the story to do with the 2 doctors. When Patrick was in his wheelchair, he was all like that, and rehearsals, Colin and I used to go up and pull his wheelchair back, and he'd be up in the air, and he was doing all this sort of drug acting, pulling his chair back and throwing up in the air. And in the end, after about the 5th day rehearsals, he was so annoyed, he jumped out and looked at me and said, you little shit! You're my companion, we should be ganging up against him! There's this little thing, you're my companion, we should be ganging up, the real schoolboy thing, you know. You're in my gang, we should be ganging up against him.
Tremendous stuff. From the public's point of view, you're probably best known for Emmerdale Farm, or Emmerdale, the character Joe Sugden. A character you played for a very long time, actually. You even left the series and then came back again.
That's right, yeah.
A bit like Doctor Who, so obviously it's a character that you have a lot of affinity with.
Oh yeah, I think so, because Joe, I mean, obviously he's been very good to me. You know, he's given me a good living, and I left and got married. Then I got divorced, my mother died, and my screen mother rang up and said, you're not having a lot of luck, darling, are you? With your life, why don't you come back to a pretend family? So
how nice to be asked back. At a time when you probably needed something.
Yes, because I was
stable.
At the time I was lower than a snake's belly,
Indeed,
as I say. Yeah, really low. And I went back just for 6 months, and stayed 6 years. Just like, I go back for 6 months just to see, what, you know, is it like going to be like the prodigal son, and think you can just walk back in. And I stayed 6 years. It was good. But then I got married again, and the schedules were quite heavy, and I just wanted to spend some more time with my wife and the stud farm.
You've done quite a lot of theatre work as well, haven't you? From plays.
I've been with Richard Franklin last year.
Indeed.
A thing called Spider's Web, and that was great. That was great fun working with Richard, waking him up on stage. He used to nod off as well. He'd be on stage. Yeah. Well, you want Sir Richard? Oh yeah, well yeah, quite. He went to sleep mid-question once, and he's like, I'm the detective asking this question, and then quick, and I said, well, what do you think? He said, I don't think so. I said, what about it? Oh, well, because just... Because him and I sold him a share in a racehorse that I own, called Glenougie, and he's won 14 races for us.
Not bad, is it?
But he sold his share out when he only won 5 races, but so he's won another 9 since then.
You've been honoured on This Is Your Life in the early 90s, which must have been very nice.
That's good.
Quite a surprise as well.
Very so. It's amazing though, with This Is Your Life, people come up to your friends and say, why wasn't I on it? As though it's me, as though I choose the people.
You're the last person to find out.
I'm the last person. And I said, well, I don't choose them. If they'd actually said, we might do you 1 year, who would you like to see? You could sort of drop a few hints. But I mean, there's 2 or 3 people I'd love to have seen, but obviously you don't have a choice.
You've also written an autobiography, which I'm sure you'll be selling us a couple of them today.
I've got some of it, yes. Films, Farms
and Fillies, yeah, indeed. When Wendy Padbury was here, we asked her to throw a question or something to you. And Simon, her other half, said you were a great hat collector.
Yes.
Now this is something I've never heard of before.
Yeah, well, again, is the powers of television. People said, I did a show called Collector's Lot that goes out, I think, on Channel 4 in the afternoons. And I do collect hats, but I've got baseball hats and Stetsons. I've been over to conventions, and we hear you like hats. Here's a Stetson. I've got about 3 or 4 Stetsons. I've got a cavalry hat, and various baseball caps, and Chris Tarrant's given me one of his denim caps from his radio show. I've got Robin Smith's cricketer, one of his.
So how many are we talking about? How many hats? Hundreds?
Probably about 100. I've got sort of 50 best ones, and the other 50.
Where do you keep them all?
Well, my 50 best ones are in my den at home, and the others are in the utility room. And my wife keeps putting my best ones back in the utility room, which is very dusty. I keep rescuing them and bringing them back.
Do you actually wear them, or do you just collect them?
No, I wear them. Oh, yeah, I wear them all.
Amazing.
And a guy came to see me in pantomime. He had this Russian border guard's hat on. I said, well, that's very nice. He said, I brought it for you, because you collect hats. I saw you in collector's lot. I said, no, you haven't. He said, honestly, it's for you. And there was a little note inside that, you know, who owned the hat originally, and a little, you know, can you just send me a signed photograph? And this is for you. So I've got this sort of border guards hat as well.
Amazing. I think we'll open this up to the audience now. Does anybody want to ask Frazer Hines a question about his career? Doctor Who, but anything at all? Any questions you want to ask? One here? Craig?
No? Yes.
Oh, you just...
Right, the name Lloyd Grossman mean anything to you in the certain not this one here, but the through the keyhole?
Yes, they came to do through the keyhole
The TV.
at our house, and they turned up to film it, and we were going out for lunch, and I've got a sort of what we call the Scruff Lounge at home, so where I've got all my racing photographs up, and a big sort of case that holds wine. It came out of an old French hotel, all these pigeonholes for keys. I've got it now, and I put bottles of wine in. And on top of that is a huge tray of malt whiskies, because I got a whiskey now and again.
Single malts.
That's right, single malts.
Very nice.
That's right. Wonderful. And I just have one now and again.
Oh, I'm sure you do.
And I opened it. Well, people say about cigarettes. You know, I had one cigarette yesterday on location because it was cold, and they said, "Do you smoke a lot?" I said, "No, this is my first cigarette for 3 weeks." I said, "Why don't you give up?" I said, "Why?" "Well, you don't smoke enough." I said, "You don't have to smoke." I said, "I've got whiskey at home. I don't have to drink a bottle a day."
Indeed, you know, a glass every now and then.
Yes, that's right.
And that's the way you should do it.
And that's the way I treat cigarettes.
I think it's a very
yeah.
admirable
And
way
it's-
to treat it.
You know, just now and again, or a cigar. I like cigars after a meal.
You'll never become an alcoholic that way because you can control it. You can always... It's very
That's
sensible.
But so anyway, just get back to your question. I opened the door like that, and I said, "Obviously, the man who lives here is a whiskey-drinking racehorse owner." And this voice from behind the door said, "Yes, Fraser, I'll obviously say that." And Lloyd Grossman was behind the door. He was leaning on the mantelpiece, and as I opened the door, I didn't see him behind the door. And he said, "Yeah," and he loved the house though, because we heard afterwards he loved it. And when he teases you in the house, it means he really likes it. And he finished up we've got this great big old Victorian bath, and he ended up in it.
Victorian bath.
Yes, he ended up. You know,
One you pour water into.
oh no, it's got a tap.
It's got taps, yes.
Yes, oh no, it's
It
got a
wasn't
tap.
something you had to draw.
Oh no, not one of those. Yeah. My wife in a bobcat like that, you know, upstairs, downstairs.
Get the cold.
Yes, yes.
With your single malt glass whiskey there.
And he sat in it saying, "Well, here we are, and this is there, and the clues are all here." And because he loved the house, he actually was, you know, he twinkled it out. And I've got this little horse's head. If you tweak its one ear, it neighs. If you tweak the other ear, it gallops. And he galloped round the house going, on film, saying obviously the people here are great horse lovers. And
That's amazing.
And there was Lloyd Grossman, you know, galloping around.
I think, if you got a question, Chris, I think you're going to want to ask, can you?
Well, it was only whether or not you got asked to do Ben Jackson's role previously, earlier on.
No,
Because I heard various stories of that from different directions.
I had auditioned, funny, I had auditioned for Doctor Who.
It wasn't the role of Ben Jackson, I don't think.
I don't know.
It's strange, Michael Cray's going to be our first attendee
Yeah, we
here.
were going to have Michael Craze as the original.
Do you know, you just said something. I'm sure it was a Cockney.
Yeah. Was that also Cockney?
Yeah. And the part I read for, I mean, they changed the name to Ben. I don't know, you know.
Yeah.
But I did audition for it. About a year, 18 months. He'd been in it before I joined.
66, it would be
Yeah.
about
66,
right, wouldn't it?
yeah,
That was so
yeah.
right time. Which is really odd, because when Michael Craze was used to be our first attendee here last year, unfortunately he couldn't make it, and now of course never will be able to. And some of the information that I was studying up to do the interview, I actually found this out. And
All right.
Chris mentioned it to me earlier today, and I
think you're right,
hadn't
Chris.
since that
Yeah,
day.
because I know you'd sort of been
I have
in the scene, but not.
That's right,
The
yeah.
role with Jamie.
They must have had to rewrite a lot of those stories, because the original, think about some of those stories, like the Macra Terror, for example, was originally been written just for Polly, for Ben, and the Doctor. And
That's
your
right.
scene must have been added, either stealing from one of the other.
Well, the strange thing is, the one, it was the Macra, what followed the Highlanders, was moon based.
It's the Piper Doctor.
Well, that's why, because Jamie had two lines. The Phantom Piper.
Yeah.
That's right.
Because there was no lines for it.
That's right.
He wasn't written in. And then I think it was the Macatera where, again, they'd been written.
He'd been drinking the coffee, hadn't he?
And so therefore I was given some of Ben's lines, which I obviously had to change around to Scottish. But yeah, that's why the Moonbase. I was just, or was it the Underwater Menace? It came after the Moonbase.
Underwater Menace after Moonbase.
Yes, then it's
Yes,
Macatera.
yes.
Yeah. Again, the Underwater Menace. I didn't have a lot of lines. And there was a girl in that playing Princess Ara, Catherine Howe. Long, dark hair, very attractive girl, and she had a wonderful record, Harry. Get record Harry. There's the sun, the moon, and Harry. Harry is the one. Do you remember that number?
Indeed.
That was
Yes.
Catherine Howe.
I've heard that for a while.
Princess. Well, that's the first. Princess Ara was played by Catherine Howe.
You made a record, didn't you? 1968.
Not many people know that.
Who's
Doctor Who. That's right. We did 3 demos. Alex Harvey, the Alex Harvey band, wrote one for me called Jamie's a Wine, the Time Machine, the Time Machine, the Time.
Was it actually released that one at all?
No, didn't even escape.
What was did you put
We recorded that, and Major Minor said, no, we don't want that one. Then my brother Ian wrote one called I'm a Time Traveller, honey, and I can't get enough of your love. I'm a Time Traveller. Been to Atlantis Way under
I
the
can
sea.
understand why that wasn't released actually.
Been to Atlantis Way under the sea, a king-size back, got a hold of me, I'm a Time Traveller, honey, and I can't get enough of your love.
It sounds appalling.
Well, it was really, it wasn't. I'm a it's an old rock and roll number. And then Les Reed and Barry Mason, I used to play football with Barry Mason for the Showbiz 11. He said, oh, I'll write you a bloody record. And me and Les would write you one. And they'd written The Last Waltz for Engelbert and Delilah for Tom Jones.
Good songs.
And I thought, right, I'm going to be a millionaire pop singer. And they wrote that for me, and I was the only flop they've ever had. And he only just started to speak to me now, Barry Mason. He came to see me in Spider's Web. So I haven't seen you for years, I'm not surprised.
Any other questions for Frazer Hines at all from anybody? Lady, sorry.
Did you want it to be killed off at Emmerdale?
No, I left, as I said, so we were working really hard, long hours, and I lived in York. I wasn't getting home till 7:30 at night, having a TV dinner, learning a lot of script, getting up at 6 o'clock, going off to work. And you know, when you're working, you talk all day, you talk as a character, you talk to the director, you talk at lunchtime. The last thing you want to do is when you get home is talk, you want silence. That's why it's good to be away in location, at least you get to your hotel room, sit in the bath, go, phew. I was sitting in the bath, my wife came in, sat at the end of the bath, and said, right, let me tell you about today. I said, can't you see I'm trying to relax? She went, oh, is this what married life's going to be like then? And she walked out. This is awful, just got married, you know. Something's got to give either marriage or a career. So I rang them up and said, look, in February I'm leaving my contract. Oh, you must stay. I said, no, I want to leave. I want to do other things as well. So I left, and about a year later, we got a phone call saying, right, have you had your year's fun now? Do you want to come back? I said, well, no, I'm doing another play and I'm enjoying myself. Well, we're going to kill you off then. I said, well, don't do that. They said, yeah, we're going to kill you. If you're not going to come back, we'll kill you. I said, well, leave him, because a new producer might come along and think, well, you know, 5 years' time, what's Frazer doing? He might want to come back and do a few episodes. So, but they killed him off.
Do you ever watch it now?
Oh yes, I watched because I've got friends in it, you know, and I always say you never saw his body. I mean, you saw Kim Tate's body, and she came back, and Frank and Joe said, "There's Kim, who's dead." Never saw Joe's body. I always think that he was killed in a car in Spain. You know, the line police, the Spanish police.
If Patrick Duffy can come back in Dallas, you can come back in.
Oh, I went there the other day to have lunch with Chris Chittell, who plays Eric Pollard, and the 2 prop men said, "Are you coming back?" I said, "No, go on, we'll build the shower. We'll build the shower for you." So, lady, you wanted a question?
It's almost the same sort of thing.
Oh, what's it? Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to know if do you think it's better now than what it was when you was in there?
It's different, and I mean, it's obviously
Yeah,
it's different. You don't see so many animals now, and
No.
I don't think the farmers in it have to work as hard as we did, because we used to really do milking scenes, and the milking scenes always had to be last thing at night, so you could never get away early, because the farmer brought the cows in.
7 o'clock at night or whatever.
Yeah, and you also had to do your lines, and you had to get these clusters on the cow's udders, and if you got an airlock on your cluster, they would fall off, make awful sound. You had to stop, and if you forgot your line and the clusters were on milking, you couldn't take them off, and so you had to wait for 4.5 minutes while that cow was milked, take it off, swap another cow round, and start the scene again. So there was a great pressure on Freddie and Pine and myself. And the Yorkshire were quite lucky. They got Freddie and I, who liked animals and didn't mind animals. And the cows would be locked together, and you had to sort of open them up to get in and feed them. So you had to know your lines backwards. So you can say, I don't know, Matt. If you and Dolly, get out of it, Daisy, move over. If you and Dolly are not going to get married, you have to know your lines upside down, back to front.
It occurs to me, Emmerdale Farm was Emmerdale Farm, now it's Emmerdale. The thrust of the stories used to be centred around the farm.
The farm, it was like an octopus.
It's
Yeah.
stretched now to...
And that's called Emmerdale, and that's why they called the farm, the village Emmerdale, you know, after the plane crash, let's call it Emmerdale. So no longer the Stugdens as the hub, it's sort of moved. But it's the only one still going. All those years, in 1972, there was
A
Emmerdale.
daytime soap in those days, wasn't it?
There was Mark Personal, Harriet's back in town, Crown Court,
Oh, Crown Court.
Yeah.
and Emmerdale is the only one that's still going.
Indeed.
It was just an allotment in those days.
Two more questions.
Well,
Two
you
more.
once, you once made a guest appearance in a sitcom Duty Free.
Yes, I did. Yeah, when I left Emmerdale in '83, and in '84 I was up in Pitlochry doing a season up there. I was doing On the Razzle and Hedda Gabler, and I got a phone call from my agent saying they want you to play yourself in an episode of Duty Free. I thought, I can't play myself. So well, they want you to. You know, you're on holiday, you're making a commercial, and I said no, I don't want to play myself. And I was watching TV that afternoon, and it was I Love Lucy, an old rerun, and Richard Burton was on it, and she was playing Lucy, trying to get Richard Burton's autograph outside his theatre, you know, the stage door, and Burton couldn't get out, so he borrowed this boiler suit that said Acme Heating Co. And he walked out, and she went, aha! Lucy wasn't, I've got you. He went, oh, very well, you've got me. He said, yes, I've been waiting for my plumbing to be fixed. Come on. Dragged him. But don't you realise, yes, you're the plumber. She thought he was the plumber. And dragged him back, and he made him... And then Liz Taylor ended up knocking on the door and said, I believe you've got my husband here. And Lucille Ball suddenly went, oh my God, realised it. And I thought, crikey, Richard Burton, an actor of his calibre, can send himself up and be himself. So I rang up and said, oh, God, I'll do it. And so they wrote the thing of me in Duty Free. And it's very strange, in the rehearsal room, you're learning your lines. And if a person talks about your character, like, oh, I've just seen Joe today, oh, he looks really sad, or he's happy, but they say, oh, I've just seen that Frazer Hines today, or he's ever so nice. You think, that's me, but they're talking about me, but it's not me, because it's a character, but it is me. And I don't actually go on holiday with my dark glasses that hide, don't you know who I am? That was a wonderful line that sort of really stuck in my thought. Well, that's not me, but it was fun to do, and they were a lovely cast. And it was you know, I like to do more comedy, because I love doing sitcoms. But that's the only thing I'll say, I don't actually do hide.
That reminds me, there was a sequence in Watching You Pussycat where Peter Toole actually turns to someone at the bar, who's played by Richard Burton, says, aren't you Peter O'Toole? Says, no, I'm, you know, whatever.
Yes, that's right, yes.
So obviously he liked doing that kind of spoof.
Yeah, and I met Richard Burton when he was doing Wagner. My first wife was in Wagner over in Vienna, and he was a lovely, lovely man. And we got on
Very
the set.
fine actor.
Oh, great actor, but we got on the set. Very small as well. I always thought he was
I've
tall.
heard this. Yes, Richard told me
He
this.
was probably about my height, about 5'8".
He always seems quite imposing on the screen, doesn't he, when you look at him?
Yes, well, he looks this huge man. But we got on the set, and the assistant came over and said, Mr. Burton, you know, would like to see you in his caravan. So Gemma went out and she said, no, the two of you. So I went along and, come on and sit down, like a cup of tea. And he was making his tea for us, just Gemma and I, and he was making this. The other Fraser, you're in this sort of farming thing, aren't you? What's it like? He said, what sort of accent do you use? He said, Mummasetter? I said, no, it's a Yorkshire. What's all? And he'd taken an interest. He obviously said, now what is her husband? What does he do? What is he, you know? And he'd taken an interest in finding, rather than saying, well, I don't have to talk to you because you're only the husband of the woman playing my wife. And I'm never going to meet you socially anyway, so. And a couple of days later, you know, his assistant said, Mr. Burton wants, you know, will you have dinner with him tonight? Marinate and I said, well, yeah, great, love to. We went downstairs, expecting to see this huge table of 25 people and hangers-on and gophers. And the guy took us down and showed us this little tiny table for four. And we went, oh, maybe it's... And so he sat down, and then Richard came along with his assistant. And it was just four of us.